Welcome to the Leadership Lounge, your go-to podcast for insightful conversations, expert advice, and strategies to elevate your leadership. I'm your host, Carrie Millspaw, best-selling author, award-winning motivational speaker, and executive leadership coach. In my profession, I've seen firsthand the daily stresses executives face and how, together, we've overcome these challenges with expert guidance. Whether you're a seasoned leader, aspiring executive, or entrepreneur, this show is for those ready to lead with impact and purpose. This isn't just about theory, it's about practical, real-life application. Tune in for inspiring stories, actionable advice, and leadership lessons you can implement right away to drive success in your career and organization. Let's dive into today's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Leadership Lounge. And I'm excited today because I have someone that I actually know in real life, and that doesn't happen all the time, but I know her from Las Vegas. I had the pleasure of working with her. I believe I saw her in action at a I think it was like a lunch and learn or networking event. So I got to see Dana in action. And today we're going to talk about breaking through burnout. And it's a huge topic that I feel a lot of people can identify with. But I want to just kind of brag on Dana a little bit as I dive into telling you a little bit about her before we dive right into today's episode. So, driven owners of service-based businesses hire Dana Earhart when they are ready to grow their multi-6 and 7-figure business without having to work longer hours. With several decades of business and leadership consulting, Dana has been leading service-based business owners to become thriving million and multi-million dollar CEOs since 2013. As a business growth strategist, she's been using her optimization framework to help hundreds of clients across 9 industries rapidly create more business growth, time freedom, fun, and joy. Dana's on a mission empowering business owners to give themselves permission to build a business that supports the life they've dreamt of, a business that provides profits, fulfillment, and purpose, while supporting a life that allows for time freedom, fun, and joy. This is exactly what she did for herself and why she launched her own business when she did, with toddler in tow. So as my listeners, I want you to kind of put yourself in this space and think with me, kind of envision with me, what if you could actually build a business that truly supports the life you've dreamt of? Not one that requires you to work countless hours in order to hit those desired next milestones, sacrificing time with family, friends, and hobbies. Rather, a business that is truly thriving and gives you the money, time, freedom, and fun to enjoy the life you crave. So today we're going to discover how to replace the constant growth bottlenecks that leave most 6 and 7-figure business owners running from meeting to meeting, putting fires out, stuck in the weeds of the day-to-day operations, to a business that consistently grows and multiplies without your constant oversight and intimate involvement. So today we're going to talk about breaking through burnout. Dana Earhart in the hot seat today as she identifies 3 bottlenecks to avoid exhaustion. Welcome to the Leadership Lounge, Dana. How are you? That was a lot, but I wanted to get it all in there.
You did awesome. I am so excited to be here as well for the same reasons you said, is that while I've been on others, I don't always know the host personally. And so it's just a thrill to be here with you and to continue some of the great conversations we've had over the years.
Yes, I love it. And of course, we follow each other on social and you kind of keep engaged and connected, even though you don't always see each other in real life. And gosh, even when I lived in Vegas, I don't think our paths crossed quite again, but similar industries, similar friends, similar connection. It's awesome. So kind of share with our audience today, Dana, just how you landed where you are today career-wise. Kind of give us the background of what makes you you in the career space.
Absolutely. Well, I won't make it a super long story other than to say I've been in the business consulting arena for several decades, a couple decades before I launched my own business. And I often refer to myself as a recovering corporate workaholic. And in my 20s, it was all about climbing the corporate ladder. I wanted to be that strong, independent female executive, the husband and kids, that was just going to happen. And I was fortunate that that's what I created. And then 3 things happened, including turning 30, 9/11, in which I had flown out to New York City on September 9th and 10th and was boarding a plane on the morning of the 11th. And several months later was my first time in the emergency room, followed by a cardiologist office because of what I thought were chest pains. fortunate for me, it was stress and anxiety. And that really put me on a path of, okay, there's more to life than just a professional career. I do love what I do. How do I find balance? And that sent me on a trajectory of personal growth and development, figuring out who I was, continuing on the career path. And then, late 30s, 2 months before I turned 40, I had my son. And up until that point, I had been hitting airports 2 or 3 trips a month, and that was fabulous before I had him. And once I had him, I knew it was time to change. In fact, sitting in a hotel room when he was about 9 months old, I was in Texas, loving the clients I was working with, loving what I did. And that particular night, I found myself crying in the hotel room because I wasn't home with my son. And that's when I decided, okay, it's time to recreate myself, take the expertise, take the experience, the skill set, my passion for the personal growth and development, and kind of recreate myself. And that is when my current business was born as a business growth strategist and advisor to service-based businesses. And of course, technology is amazing. And so I can continue to do great work and do it with technology instead of needing to fly every week to see different clients. So I feel like now what I empower my clients to do by, first, every time I start working with a business owner or entrepreneur is let's get really clear on the life you want to be building. And then we'll build the business that supports that life. And I think it starts with giving yourself permission that it's possible to have that life that you want. And that's what excites me. It's, I think as I continue to empower others to do this, it's a constant reminder to myself to make sure that I keep up my own guardrails, my own bumpers, and the boundaries to ensure that my son's now 13. Now it's the countdown on the other side of, oh my goodness, I only have 5 or 6 years left with him here before he will be heading off to college or whatever he chooses. And so it's all about really quality time with him now, maybe even a little bit more than the quantity as he
Right.
starts more friends.
Yes. Yes, that happens. I'm seeing a visual of that illustration that people talk about with the jar and putting the rocks of what's important in your life first. And generally, a lot of us put the rocks of your career, and it should really most likely be family, time with those you love, or your health or whatever needs to be a priority. And then the rest gets to be the sand or the filler in between. And it's
Yes.
true. So I love that you start with your clients with that first, because that really is the foundation to everything. Otherwise, you're going to keep going back to it. Why am I not happy? What's going on? Why am I not happy? I've got my dream
Absolutely.
job. What's going on? How come I'm so upset? I love it. You're the perfect person to talk about this. I do remember hearing about your story. Um, it was anxiety. Is that what it was? Or was it a panic attack? What was?
It was really stress and anxiety. It was, I didn't know how to let anything roll off my shoulders. And so, and I will also say in my 20s, I also don't know that I definitely did not know as much about leadership as I do now. And so it was, I will jokingly refer to myself as it was more like management by dictatorship.
Yeah,
Like, this is how it's done. Let's do
right.
it this way. There was very little gray. It's black and white. And fortunately, I've learned a lot about leadership over the last couple of decades to really understand the concept of mentorship and empowerment and teaching and training, which all of that boils down to effective communication.
Right. Couldn't agree more. I can relate. It's something about just try. I think I just posted recently, burnout is not a badge of honor. For some reason, we think that it's a competition. Well, I have this going and you should hear how busy my schedule is. And then I've got to take the kids to soccer. And then I have to do a meeting during soccer practice. And it's like, are you looking for a prize? You sound ridiculous. I don't know why we think there's a competition. My schedule's crazier than yours. Let me tell you about mine. And it's just almost like stress is applauded. Like, no, that's not it. I'm loving how much noise is out there and just talk, mumbling about the burnout especially in the corporate world, as I've seen it firsthand myself. And I know you just a little plug for Dana. She has a newsletter that she publishes on LinkedIn. And I think it was an article just came across yesterday about burnout, or was maybe the day before. What day are we on? It was sometime this week. So let's dive in. So we've got 3 bottlenecks. And when you say bottleneck, it's like what you just described, I'm sure, is like your typical like traffic, like, oh, and we're stopped. Nothing's happening. Nothing's going through. I love that you use that description. I think we all know what that means. So take us through kind of the scenario of the first one. Kind of walk us through that, what that looks like.
First one, I am just going to dive into the most common, the biggest, the one that when you can eliminate it, you will see the most success and quite honestly, the most peace come back into your life. And it's typically you as the leader that is the biggest bottleneck. And what I mean by that is it's so easy to get caught up in the most urgent. What is most immediate that needs to be done today versus what's most important to move our collective goals forward or move the needle forward towards our goals. And so there's, simple steps that can be taken at the end of each day to prepare yourself for the next day so that you're really clear on what are your top 3 priorities, what are your top 3 intentions for the next day. But instead, oftentimes what ends up happening in corporate as well as in small business is the concept of running from meeting to meeting to meeting, or feeling like you're constantly putting out fires by someone else's emergency that became your urgency.
Right.
And so there's a lot of steps that can be done around there. First, identifying, how do you know that you're being your biggest bottleneck? And I would say first, you're running from meeting to meeting. You're putting out fires. You may have a line at your door of team members needing something from you. That can be an indication of maybe there's some room to tighten up your meeting schedules. And how often are you meeting with your team individually? How often are you meeting as a team? There's all different ways to really dial into what can be done to tighten up your day. I also think as leaders, we are constantly squeezing in more meetings as opposed to actually reducing the number of meetings and ensuring that as the leader, we have space for creativity, for strategic planning, for thought, intentional thought in our day and in our planning. Those are some of the red flags, as I say, to really know that as a leader, you're being a bottleneck for yourself. And I could spend hours on that.
Yeah. That's a tough one to swallow. It's like, okay, so bottleneck number 1, look in the mirror. And it's true. It's like, is the dog wagging the tail or is the tail wagging the dog? And I've seen it firsthand too. It's true. If you have your core priorities right in front of you to start your day, these are the 3 projects, these are the timelines, these are the deadlines. All meetings should only be about that. I've also noticed too, when I work with executives, if their team knows I have a one-on-one every Tuesday with my team leader, I'm going to save what I'm going to say on Monday because it can wait till Tuesday because I have my one-on-one. Instead of barging into the office, or if it's a virtual business, messaging them, pinging them, however you guys communicate, just knowing it, I have this one-on-one time. I'm going to take a note. I'll bring it up then. And it's so important to have those little blocks of touch points for your team so they're not a line outside your door, and it's true. Is it really a fire or is it just smoke? Are we
Very, very
being
true.
reactive or proactive? It's got to take a step back and just do some evaluation. And it's not to point fingers at anyone. It's just self-evaluation step one, always. I couldn't agree more with any problem in your life, whether it's personal or professional. It's like, wait, how am I contributing? So I love that that's the first one. So let's dive into number two.
Well, and I'm going to specify one other thing for the distinction between one and two. And when it comes to your calendar, your schedule, I am a big proponent of by the 15th of this month. So in 5 days, not only is the rest of October mapped out, I will be actually mapping out my calendar for November. And what I mean by that is I don't necessarily know the details of every meeting I have, whether it's with myself or other people, but I am clustering. So it's also time blocking is a big advantage when it comes to keeping yourself not just effective, it's efficient and productive. Because just like a computer, when you were talking about being busy as being a badge of honor, just like a computer, if we are constantly running from one project, one task to another, we are actually never 100% singularly focused. And I think the other thing that there's a little more talk about, I'd love to see more talk about it, is the power of being singularly focused versus multitasking.
Yes.
And it is so interesting. I've been on more group Zoom calls, even if I'm learning something and I'm the client. And it's fascinating how often people are doing different things, even though they're on a call. And I'm thinking, why not be more effective and be singularly focused, either focused on what you're learning and what's being discussed or focused on whatever you're doing. Don't try to blend the two. And there was a scientific study done years ago that shows that it actually takes our brain 20 to 22 minutes to refocus 100% every time we're interrupted.
Wow.
And I think as leaders, if we share that type of philosophy, that understanding with our team, collectively, there can be so much more efficiency and productivity added to the team when we actually pull back and become more singularly focused, more intentionally focused. And that starts by just thinking ahead and even planning ahead with your calendar. I had a boss years ago, former Navy, and he taught us something from the military, and it's the 7 Ps. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. And, here I am 20 years later, and I even share that with clients because that's one that's really stuck with me. And it goes to what you're saying too, of if you know you have a meeting coming, keep your questions. Or worst case scenario, maybe your meeting's in 4 days and you really need an answer today. Open an email, start writing out your questions as you go, and then shoot your manager, your leader, your team member an email to say, hey, do you have 5 minutes for me today or 5 minutes for me tomorrow morning? And you go in there with those questions. That's how you can start being more efficient and more productive.
I love that. There's so many times I've joined a meeting and I'll be on the outside of big tech companies and as a consultant, and the first 5 minutes, no one even knows why they're really meeting. And you're like, great. And it's because whoever set up the meeting and this is all virtual, is just got a headline of it's this topic. And unfortunately, I would see them just jump from meeting to meeting to meeting. You already forgot what you promised the team members in the meeting 4 meetings ago. You're just being ambushed with 20 projects at a time. So I love the singular focus to start your day. Like, if this is our priority, I'm only going to have meetings around this thing that's got the hot deadline. And that way my brain is only focused on this end goal instead of 20 other end goals. It's so ineffective. I just don't even understand. You just
Absolutely.
can't. You're not a robot, guys. You're a human. AI is great, but let's not take it that far.
Right.
Let's stay in the human space by all means. Awesome. So let's go jump into the second bottleneck, because I'm curious.
The second bottleneck really is around the organization of the talent of your team. And way too often, I come across leaders who it's not that they consciously believed that their training and mentorship and leadership ended at the time of hire. However, there's room to be so much more intentional with the ongoing development and mentorship of our team as a team collectively and with the individuals. Um, and with that, I think I'm reminded of the fact, it's a cliche, but there's a lot of value to it, is that our team will only be as strong as its weakest link. And
Mm.
as the leader, if we are not seeing our role to be there to ensure that our team has every resource they need to be successful, which includes their own personal development, as a leader, we can become the weakest link. Yet, so often leaders believe if there's a team member faulting and not succeeding at the rate or at the level they want, oftentimes it's viewed as the individual's issue. And I think it's a collective issue. The individual time to realize where there's room to excel, the leader, where is there room for me to continue to mentor and develop this team member? Because if I want to grow to the next level, it's understanding that the team that got me to where I am today is not the team in its current form that will get me to that next level. It may be that I need to add new talent. It also may be that I need to help develop new talent, new systems, and it goes beyond that. Yet I believe it really starts with the talent and the team.
I love that. It's like an engine, a well-oiled machine. You want it to run. Oh, but why is it not working? The spark plugs need to be replaced. Or there's things that are showing up. Maybe it's just that one team member needs that little tweaking or needs to do a certification somewhere or a quick class or whatever that looks like. I see that too all the time, especially in sales teams. You've got the one that's excelling, the other one that's got a little bit of self-doubt that's playing in the back of their mind and doesn't want to make the calls every day or do the outreach. If you could just stop and just focus on that one little speed bump that they're having a challenge with, what a difference it makes. Then you're back to running on all 6, 8, whatever cylinders you want to run on.
Exactly. Exactly. One thing that I often encourage my clients to start incorporating in their team meetings and their one-on-one meetings is, before you leave that meeting, ask, what else do you need from me to be successful in your role,
Yes.
or to be more successful in your role? And what happens there is, you're asking the question as the leader, you're guiding the relationship, which is fabulous. And you're simultaneously empowering your team or team member to be evaluating what else do they need to
Right.
be successful. Is it more time and attention from you? Is it from someone else? As you said, it could be another course. What needs to happen to really move that needle faster towards accomplishing the goal?
And what a fun place to work if you have that environment, a safe space to not only ask your team lead, look, I'm struggling here, but to know you're not getting fired because you asked for help. Like it's a sign of weakness and it feels scary to voice your concern that I'm struggling here. That takes a lot of bravery and courage to jump forward and ask for it. But to know you've got the safe space, you got to create that synergy of it's okay. We're here everybody's supposed to win. That's the whole goal. We're all here to win. And if
Yep.
someone's falling behind, we got to stop and go, why? What's up with so and so? But what a fun place to create to work in. That's all I can say is what a safe space. Who doesn't want to show up to that kind of job every day? And that's with turnover. We could go on and on about cost and all those things too. That's a great way to retain employees and retain good talent, is to create that safe space in the first place. I love this. I love it. Keep going.
I will add that, and this actually can be part of both the leadership bottleneck as well as the talent bottleneck. is to be, and I just lost it. The thought just
It
left
was
my
there,
mind.
but
It's prioritization. I knew it would come back quickly.
yes,
And sometimes there can be so much put on either our plate or our team's plate that it's okay to stop and regroup based on priorities. Because if everything is a priority, it's crucial to know that nothing is a priority.
right,
And so sometimes as leaders, it's to help our team prioritize. We may have just downloaded, 5 additional tasks or projects for them to add to their plate, which is great. What they don't know unless we've articulated it, is that a priority for this week, or are you giving this to me, but it's okay if we address this in November?
right.
And so really helping them understand priorities as well. And it all comes back down to that effective communication.
Absolutely. If they have a timeline or see when, deadlines, I would create a lot of that with the teams I've worked with. As they create out their next quarter or 6 months to their fiscal year, just seeing a timeline. Oh, we're not even addressing this till late December, January. Why are we having meetings already? Like there's 4 more things before that that
Right.
are due. So yeah. And it's just understanding some team members. The better you understand how they're wired, some get anxious quickly. I tried to do this and I got stuck. I need your help right now, but yet you really don't for 3 more months. You've got some breathing room. It's just understanding, it's an emergency to them, but you as a leader have to step in, go time out, pause. We don't really need to schedule this right this minute. It's no different than your kids. I hate to say it sometimes. Like, you
Yes.
don't have to worry about soccer practice. It doesn't start for 2 more months. We'll get you new gear or whatever it is, like you have to come sometimes just reevaluate the situation and reassess whoever thinks it's an emergency right now. You got to be that person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a perfect analogy. I'm thinking of my son because in those 2 months, he may have grown a couple of inches and be a different foot size. So
Right.
I don't want to buy the equipment too early.
Exactly. I don't know about you because we've both been single parents for a while. That's all I can do to stay sane is 1 hour at a time, Carrie. What is
Yes,
just today? Like don't jump ahead too much mentally or you're just going to get anxious and create anxiety that's not necessary. So I love that. I love that. So what's the third bottleneck?
the third bottleneck is believing that our happiness can come after the goal is achieved.
Ooh, I like that one.
And one thing, just like I said, when I work with my clients, it's understanding the life they want and building the business that supports that. I also ensure that when we're putting together their business goals, their leadership goals, not only are we talking about the KPIs, the team building, the strategy, the metrics, all the statistical metrics, we are also addressing their health and they're having a health goal, whether it's physical, nutritional, hydration, their sleep, their mindfulness, to their relationships, their relationship with themselves, their primary relationship with kids. Make sure to have goals in those areas that you're just as intentionally working towards as you are the business goals. And so often they're either not thought of or they are thought of so separately that it becomes that teeter totter of where am I going to focus versus when you're focusing on all of them collectively, you can see how you can blend them. And there was another study done, and I actually want to pull it up just to make sure I cite it correctly. I believe it was management science that found that the effects are significant for every 1 unit that you can improve your happiness on a scale of 0 to 10. Let's say I started a 5. I'm not unhappy, but I'm not, I'm just kind of even keel. I'm a 5. If I just move that to a 6, or even if I move it to a 7, there's a 12% increase in happiness level with each unit that I raise that. And so what that means is I will have some clients who they've been working so hard to hit some big goals, big monetary goals, or some are looking to be acquired. So there's a lot of negotiation, a lot of prep work with that. And now they've kind of put everything about taking care of themselves on the back burner.
Hmm.
Well, if they had kept themselves on the forefront and really been taking care of themselves and having time with their spouse, with their partner, with their kids, and not putting that off, they would have been happier all through those communications, all while working towards that big goal. And when a person is happier, they produce more effectively. And that's where that 12% comes in. I think I stated that wrong before, is that for every 1 unit that you increase your happiness, your productivity increases by 12%. That's significant.
Yes, it
And
is.
so you as a leader, if you bring that to your team, it's a collective increase in productivity for the entire team.
No kidding, especially if you think there's like 10 on a project and just knowing that they're all contributing. This one's something I want to just kind of put the pause button on because it's a favorite topic of mine. I don't even think about it. I don't think people really realize that your mental health, how much it really does play. I don't know if this is hard code wiring, but I would even catch myself. Nope, I'm not breaking for lunch because I didn't finish this project yet. God forbid I stop and make something to eat, which could be fun and yummy and make me happy. But, it's like almost this beat your brow kind of mindset. And it could come from some of the companies I've worked for that, just you don't breathe till this is done. You don't get to even go to the bathroom till this is done. And it's almost like a reward, work before the reward kind of mindset too, could be old school. But I have to stop and pause and go, but I would enjoy this so much more if I wasn't hungry. Like I'd love finishing this project if my stomach wasn't growling right now. It would actually be more enjoyable. Now it feels like punishment because I'm waiting and
Yes.
waiting to take care of a need or take a break because I'm giving myself a hard deadline. So how do you work with like that hard wiring? I mean, I'm sure you focus a lot on this.
I do. And I really, I think I was absolutely guilty of, not taking a lunch break. My lunch would be eating at my desk when I was in
Hmm.
corporate if I ate. Or
Yes,
maybe we were in the conference room and lunch was being provided to us.
right.
But I will never forget, there was a day I went to the restroom and my assistant came to get me in the restroom for a client call. And she, that was a prime training opportunity. Like, take a message, I will call them right back, or put them on hold, even if they're willing to hold. So it's just, there are those things that, yes, we are hardwired for. And when we want to succeed, sometimes we forget about parameters and boundaries and those guardrails that I mentioned earlier. For me, I know also there have been times when I started working from home. Well, maybe I'll just pack my lunch like I would have if I was going to the office or something.
Right.
And I would eat at my desk then. And it's like, no, the whole point is step and move, get away from the desk.
Yes.
Stand, even if I stand outside for 5 minutes and
Yeah.
get some fresh air and some sunlight, change the scenery. And
Yeah.
more, there's also so many studies that I don't know well enough to cite them, but the studies that talk about how damaging it is for our physical health to stay sitting for 8 hours a
Mm.
day. And so by setting timers on our cell phones, because typically we always have them with us. So
Yes.
setting just a little chime, maybe even it's a pleasant chime or one that, hey, it's a song that you
Favorite
smile the
song.
second you
Yeah.
hear it, changes the energetic vibration, and have that be your reminder to actually stand up, move away from the desk, walk around the building, walk around, get something to drink, get something to eat, take care of yourself. Because there's times I may not physically know I'm hungry from my stomach is not
Right.
growling.
Right.
However, my energy is plummeting before I realize it has plummeted.
Yeah.
And so even, my son and I often talk about who's hangry. Not just me, sometimes it's him. Did he not have a snack after school, or he's playing all the sports? You need to keep your
Right.
body fueled. And so often if you as a leader are doing that, if you are constantly eating at your desk, that is what you are role modeling. And that's a red flag to really be evaluating. Is that setting your team up to bring the best version of them to their workload? Are you teaching them to just be a doer and be a robot who goes from meeting to meeting, task to task? Or are you setting them up to bring some thought and
Yes.
to who they are being when they're doing all of this work? Because typically, we don't just want the doers. We do want people to think their way through a task or a project.
Absolutely. Creativity never happens at the desk for me. I can't speak for everyone, but it's going for a quick walk, going in the mailbox, in the shower. I have the best ideas.
Yep.
Any kind of like standing out on my back balcony and just staring out at the green, golf course by my house.
Yep.
I have green by my house now, Dana.
I heard
Something
that.
in Vegas we didn't have.
No.
It's not always green though. Just know winter is coming, but I am excited about it. But it's just, oh yeah, there's something pretty to look at. Oh yeah, it's not just a screen. Oh yeah, I remembered I'm gonna have this for dessert. It's the little things. It doesn't have to be like this giant happy goal of, oh my goodness, I'm going to take the best trip ever this weekend. And I just remembered I'm going on vacation to some country. Sometimes those little baby, I call them glimmers, that you see throughout the day that remind you why you do what you do, who you love, like why life is important, why you even have a job or work, or what gets you up in the morning. Sometimes it's just the little stuff and your
Oh,
favorite coffee brewing and the little fun things to remind you throughout the day that life's yummy. It gets to be good. It doesn't have to be deadlines and tasks and spreadsheets and all the fun stuff all the time. The two-dimensional
absolutely.
screens. I love it. So I love the not putting the happiness on hold. I am guilty of that at times till I catch myself. Like I'll be happy when dot dot dot. When I lose
I
20 pounds, when I, like think about that even as an example instead of
absolutely.
celebrating the 5 pounds you just lost. Yeah.
Or in the beginning, I'm on a health journey myself, and it just shed 19 pounds. And so it's even celebrating, like, oh, I had 2 extra servings of vegetables today from someone who didn't eat enough vegetables, and so it is. I think that is such an under um, communicated skill, and it's celebrating the small wins, celebrating those micro wins. And that is something that I encourage myself and others to do every single night, is think about what are 3 things you can celebrate from that day that you created or you accomplished. Because so often we go to bed thinking, or at least I used to, thinking about what I didn't do or what I didn't get to or what I did wrong.
Right.
Well, science tells us that our final thoughts before going to sleep set the energetic vibration for the next
Mm,
morning. And if we're thinking about what we did wrong, where we didn't hit the mark, that's how you don't want to start the day. That's like
no.
starting the day behind the 8 ball. You
Right.
want to start with a fresh, clean, positive slate, thinking about wins so that you're waking up to create more wins. And
Right.
just imagine what it would be like if your team did the same thing.
I love that. There's a favorite podcaster of mine, Christy Wright. I'll just plug her because I can. So I feel like it. She's a great planner that she created to do in the morning. And I think the reason why I loved it so much was what 3 things did you get done yesterday? Like applaud yourself before you even, because we're like, I got to get this done. I got to get this done. We're just beating ourselves up all the time. Stop and like celebrate. What did you get done? Even if it's just laundry, guys, it's okay.
Yes.
Celebrate it. I
And
have to do
help.
that sometimes as well because I'm like, I don't know. I base my worth on productivity for some reason. I don't know why. It's just kind of a driven personality thing. But I will look back and go, what did I get done today? Oh, okay. Good job. Good job. Good job. Yep. Nope. I didn't. I wasn't a big lazy, sloth on the couch today.
Yep,
I got some stuff done.
absolutely.
I love
And as
that. Celebrate it.
leaders, start your team meetings that way. Hey, we haven't met in a week. What can we celebrate? What are you really
Right.
proud of that happened in the last week? And I guarantee you, your team may look at you the first time like you're in the
Huh?
headlights of what are you talking about? And that is a muscle to train. That is how I start every single call with my leaders and with my owners. What can we celebrate today? Because I can guarantee that until I ask that question, or they are now trained that I will ask that question, they were not thinking of that.
Right. Right. Sometimes it's just moving the needle forward, whatever that looks like in whatever little thing. Like I got through this today. This is locked in, planning an event and the venue is booked. Done. Check. Celebrate. I know you got a lot more to do yet, but celebrate. It's so true. It's just like sometimes you feel like, well, it's not all finished and done and tied up with a pretty bow yet, but you moved the needle today. What did you do? So I love that. That's my favorite one.
Awesome.
My favorite. Well, as we kind of wrap up and conclude, I want to just kind of give you space to share anything else with our listeners that give them hope, whatever it is it looks like, because we really do want to avoid burnout. It's so common. And sometimes you don't even know you're in it until you're already in it, like massively up to your eyeballs in it. And it's not fun trying to climb back out of that hole. I've been there.
No.
So what kind of any other words of hope or inspiration you can give our audience as we conclude today's episode?
I just think to really play on this last conversation we just had is, to really, if there's just one thing you take away from this, it's to start celebrating the small wins on a daily basis and be thinking about what's the one small thing you want to celebrate tomorrow. If you're constantly thinking about how can I bring the next best version of myself to the day tomorrow? How can I be better tomorrow than I was today? How can I be better today than I was yesterday? What is that one thing? Is it one more conversation with a team member? Is it one more phone call made? Is it one more serving of vegetables? One more load of laundry to do that you've done? Like things. Because as you start training yourself to be thinking about the one more thing or the one more thing that you can celebrate, that is the new foundation. That's how you create momentum. And that would be the one thing I leave you with today.
I love it. I like having something to look forward to celebrate. That's even more fun.
Yeah,
Especially when it's a goal. Awesome. I used to start off my weekends when I worked in the corporate world. They're like, what are you going to do this weekend? I'm like, I don't know. I'll tell you on Monday. But then I started to tell them because it held me accountable to do something exciting over the weekend. Yeah. So one time I was just like, I'm going to skydive. And I hadn't even had it planned or nothing. By Monday, you bet my butt was showing pictures of my skydive.
That is awesome. And more power to you because there's no reason to jump out of a perfectly good airplane.
Oh, I might do it again. It was a long time ago, but you never know. The view's prettier where I'm at. I might try it another time, but it's good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I am super grateful that you gave us your time today and your wisdom. It's very appreciated. So big hugs to you and thank you so much for your time. And thank you again, listeners, for joining us for another episode of the Leadership Lounge. And I will see you on the next episode. Big hugs, big love. Hi there, friend. If you enjoyed this episode, do me a favor and double check that you're subscribed or following. And if you've got a quick 30 seconds, it would mean the world to me if you could leave me a 5-star review and share what you specifically liked about this episode.